Hi, and welcome to Reconciliation Month here at West Central Women's Resource Center. My name is Jolene Wilson, and I'm joined today with Chief David Crate and Lorne Cochrane of Fisher River. So take it away, gentlemen. Please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit of the history and culture of your community there in Fish River.
Well, I'm really happy we can participate this afternoon on the Zoom call. And quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Well, I've been one of the leaders in the community here for quite a number of years. We've got an on-reserve population now of about 2,000 members. Total population is over 4,000 members now for the Cree Nation. We're situated on the west side of Lake Winnipeg in the Interlake region, approximately 2 hours north of Winnipeg. We're striving to become as much as a self-sufficient community as possible. That's one of the things we'll share with you today is the development of our green energy projects for the community. We've actually been developing now going on 6 years. One of the key initiatives we've undertaken a couple of years ago was the development of a large solar farm for the community. It's a 1 megawatt solar farm. It generates enough energy to power approximately 350 homes. Phase one, as we call it, we're into a 20-year arrangement now with Manitoba Hydro. They're buying the power from the energy that's generated from that farm. We also, what else is really neat about the project is carbon credits. We're able to take the carbon credits from that project and we sold those to another company under a 5-year arrangement. So the focus of this particular project has been revenue generation for the community. The Fred Corporation is the management of that solar farm. And we're now undertaking, I'll call it phase two. We're doing an assessment on, I guess we'll call it the next phase for Fisher River and what possible green energy projects we could undertake. We may be looking at another large-scale solar farm to start focusing on powering the community. Just sort of a side thing also, a lot of people don't know this, but we're the largest geothermal community in the province now.
Wow.
We have about 50% of our housing stock is converted and new construction to geothermal. So the focus has been on trying to create as much long-term sustainable sources of energy for the community. And I guess related to that is the protection of our traditional lands in the area. We brought 2008. We brought the Fisher Bay and surrounding area under permanent protection with the province of Manitoba. We have the new Fisher Bay Provincial Park, which basically sets the area aside under provincial park legislation. It's under permanent protection. The one key thing we wanted in supporting the initiative was that our people could still carry on their traditional activities, such as fishing, hunting, trapping, medicine picking. For the area, we thought that was important. We're also working on phase two, which is going to be further expansion of the Fisher Bay Park. But for the community here itself, that's always been a goal to try and protect the area for future generations.
Yeah.
And the focus also on the green energy is to have sustainable sources of energy for the community. And maybe I'll just turn it over to Lorne at this point while I grab something to drink.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. And I guess one of the things that we looked at in terms of economic development, it's not just how much revenue we can generate from our businesses. To us, economic development is community based. It's individual based. I mean, if we can create jobs to provide employment without making a lot of money, it still provides a lot of hope to the people and a lot of pride in terms of being employed and being contributing to the overall development of the community. So a lot of our businesses are at break even, but we employ well over 70 people through our economic development initiatives in the community. So we look at that as one of the riches. You know, our bank coffers might not be a lot, but the family well-being is more important to us than a bottom line in our balance sheet. So we spend a lot of time looking at innovative ways of taking advantage of our location. We are at the end of a road, so we have no through traffic. You know, so we try and cater to the surrounding community, but more importantly to our own, whether it's our grocery store, our castle building supplies. You know, we have a car wash, laundromat that we've recently constructed. And we have a 12-unit motel that's available for rental and hosting conferences and various meetings. Unfortunately, with COVID, that would be the only thing that suffered during this time was our hotel. Our other businesses thrive because of the isolation of having our people remain here, you know, for fear of contracting the COVID. So as the chief said, you know, we've trained 15 people to look at geothermal installs for heating and cooling of close to 300 homes of the 550 we have on the reserve. And they're also able to take those skills and find employment. Or we're looking at trying to secure contracts to provide those services to other First Nation communities or anybody, not just First Nation, with the skill sets that we've created, not only with the geothermal, but also the install. We've trained 20 individuals to do the actual install, and they constructed the solar farm itself. You know, the solar chief came with the idea to the economic development to say, let's go after this. So numerous proposals were written. I think we secured 1.1 million from Western Economic Diversification, and then we cash managed the rest with own source funding and contributions from the First Nation. Total cost was 2.4 million of the solar farm. And we have a service purchase agreement with Manitoba Hydro where we just feed into their grid, and it's always metered, and we can check it even on our phones to see how much power is being through. I mean, in a perfect world, we would like them to take our power in the evenings when it's exporting to the States when there's a higher demand and a greater cost. So I'll be very blunt. Like, we want to get into that area, but we need battery storage in order for us to accommodate that. It could be a phase again. This battery storage alone is about $1.5 million. But also we want to look at hooking up to that battery storage to our key service areas. Like we have a 32-bed personal care home that we have to move people out when there is power outages or flooding. So we want to make sure that we're looking after our elders without having to disrupt them and evacuate them from our community when we can sustain them right here. We have a constant power source. Because for some reason, you know, I used the October storm last October, the power outage. You know, we were without hydro for up to 7 days. And thank God we're resilient people and very supportive of one another to get through that. You know, not a lot of them left the community, but it was disturbing to see our elders have to leave once again. So Chief has directed us to look at innovative ways of trying to maintain some of that power here and power up, you know, our community hall for emergency food and shelter, our personal care home, our 255 plus residents not adjacent to, but close to the personal care home. So we're looking at ways of not only being self-sustaining, and there's not one quick area that you can make a lot of money off. So we look at different things, and sometimes it's not so much making money; it's not going in a hole and still creating employment, which gives us, as mothers, as fathers, a sense of being in the community and contributing to the community when employment is available. So I think that's the focus the chief has set for us, and a lot of people are very excited about the future of green energy. You know, we're trying to show there is an alternative ways of accessing power without having to flood our lands. You know, even though we have no dams close to us, hydro's regulation of Lake Winnipeg causes concern and floods our lands in our reserve in the low-lying areas closer to the base. So we're taking those steps under our leadership direction here to continue to look at ways of being innovative, being creative when we're in a captive market. So we're trying to teach our people to get these skills, and then we will outsource them when we go after contracts when they do become available.
Wow, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I did have a series of questions, but you gentlemen really know your stuff and are very thorough. And so the only question I really have is, do you have any advice for other First Nations looking to get into sustainable energies?
Yeah. Maybe, Jolene, maybe before we get into that question, I just wanted to maybe give you a bit of more information. There's something that we're discussing right now with our education authority. With the green energy project that we undertook with the solar farm, we want an educational component for the schools here in the community. We want to, I'll give you an example, what Lorne talked about, where they're able to track the energy production of that solar farm. We've seen it actually when we visited a large-scale geothermal solar development in Okotoks, just outside of Calgary. But they have there's an educational component where we'll say we'll have a screen set up at the school as an example. Students will be able to see that, what the production of the solar farm is on a daily basis. So we're hoping to make it an educational component to get students interested in green energy and get them excited.
Yes.
And, there's the capacity development that Lorne talks about having the membership trained. In the future, as we move along with more developments in green energy, there's going to be jobs made available to train. This is something we don't talk very openly about at this point in time because Manitoba Hydro is the crown corporation here for the province. They don't like, I'll say it openly, they don't really support green energy projects, right?
Yeah.
Because their focus is on dam developments, and the more green energy projects that come online, it basically reduces hydro's, I guess I'll say the, how to put it nicely,
Profitability.
profitability. Exactly. But our end goal here too is to try to take as many of our commercial and residential facilities offline. And we're looking at creating our own utility for the community down the road. So instead of paying Manitoba Hydro, they'll pay Fisher River Hydro. So
Wow.
there's all the jobs related to that, all the service jobs of that system. So that's something we're planning for the future. The other piece too, for question you're asking about other First Nations, there's an aspect to our green energy projects here too, and we've talked about it. We still have in Manitoba today, we still have 4 northern remote communities that are on diesel generation, and it's not that good for the environment. So part of our planning discussions we've had, we want to look at creating a model that might be able to help communities that are still on diesel generation. So that's going to be a part of our discussions in the very near future. We've had some preliminary discussions with the MKIO region, which is all in northern Manitoba, but we still need to have more discussions with them. But we want to create a model here too in Fisher River that can be replicated anywhere across the country.
Yeah.
You know, for First Nation communities, and we're very open on sharing what we have, our information. And like Lorne will tell you, we speak very openly with other First Nations, and we do get visits from other First Nations wanting to know what we're doing here locally in the community. So I think the question you're asking too about what, you know, recommendations or suggestions we have for those communities is you don't have to recreate the wheel a lot of times. You know, there's good models of sustainable projects across the country. And planning is a really key thing too when you're doing anything.
Yeah.
You gotta really, really plan it out, do your research. And, you know, government, what we find in working with government, they know if you do your homework and you lay out a really solid plan, most likely the government will support those projects because they can see the end benefits, how it's going to benefit the community and the people. And yeah, so that would be the main thing I'd recommend, for communities.
Well, that's wonderful. Again, everything you talked about and touched on it's a beautiful thing. It's a long time dream of mine to be able to see our people come a long way, or come this way, and by way of taking care of themselves and each other, and not having to outsource anything and just be self-dependent, and that's really beautiful. So I want to thank you both for joining us today, and for sharing your knowledge and your solar farm with us. That's a really beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it for me. You answered all my questions and I didn't even ask them.
Actually, we should send you an invite to our solar farm grand opening. I think we're looking at August 20. I'll get Marge to send you an email.
Okay, that would be lovely.
Send you an invitation.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We'll have a big feast.
Awesome.